super interesting that it's taken me like 20 tries to get this audio going. I got a new microphone and I've left it plugged in, and it's sort of supposed to be one of those plug and play kind of deal. And today in particular, and then the other day when I was making a video that was really big, I guess, for me. Anyway, I finally got the audio to work, and today's topic I want to talk about is my journey about and when I started remote viewing training. So it's been about a year and a half since I went to a meetup, and there's a meetup in my a town near me, and for years I've gone through developmental programs to really hone my craft, to really hone my gifts and abilities as a psychic and a medium. But there kept being these occurrences that happened during sessions where, when I would talk with colleagues, what I was experiencing with my sitter was something that I'd never heard about, read about, trained in, or done anything about. And I was really curious. I thought, well, maybe what I'm experiencing with my gifts at that particular time was maybe a new channeled skill, maybe something that was coming to me that I didn't really know. And of course, in classic Christy fashion, I want to investigate it and figure it out. So what I did was I saw this meetup for remote viewing, and I had heard only little tidbits about remote viewing. I didn't know much. I only knew that the government had used it previously, but it was on, it was classified, and then it had been declassified and was then being taught in the public. And so I didn't really know the top names in the remote viewing community. And I feel like that, for me personally, is sometimes better. I can really follow my intuition and really feel into, am I meant to communicate with this person, have them teach me, are we a right fit for each other, that kind of thing. So it's probably better I didn't know a whole lot about the other instructors in the remote viewing field, because when I met John, it was just like, yes, we were really just interested in each other's work, and that was really cool to find somebody who was so open to have all the conversations that I love to have, deeply metaphysical. We're talking about extraterrestrials. We're talking about remote viewing, and being a natural psychic, which I am first as a natural psychic, but I'm also trained as a remote viewer and understand the protocol and the process that is done in order to elicit information from the dimensions, is the best way that I like to describe it. That's how I understand it. And so there's a lot of technical jargon that I'm not just going to get you bogged down with. But what I found really interesting about John, and his name's John Vivanco, and you can Google him. He's got a fantastic book out. He's recently done a radio interview on BBS, and he's done some interviews on YouTube. I'll post some links in the comments under my video, because he's really just a fantastic instructor. He knows what he's talking about. He's straightforward, and he's just a great guy. So what I found was that during my sessions with my clients, I was having this really challenging time understanding the why. Because again, I like to ask questions. That's just how I am. Understanding the why I was getting information for my clients in a certain way. It was basically as though when I do sessions, it's as though in my mind's eye, am able to pull back almost like a drone view of certain locations, and able to zoom in and see color and texture and location, excuse me, landscape, and not just the immediate landscape, but landscape, beyond a particular, it could be a residence, it could be, a car sitting in a driveway, it could, we did some work looking for missing persons, not necessarily as a tasking with John, but on a separate occasion. And so just being able to have that view in my sessions with my clients was unusual to me. I didn't quite know how to make it a consistent experience so that I could really impart the information to my clients so they could benefit the most from the session. That's really what I wanted. I wanted to be able to gain the skill in interpreting the information and understanding what it was I was being gifted with, this particular way of viewing the information when I sat with a client. And so I thought, well, great, remote viewing, because in my mind I'm thinking, yeah, that's what happens is you go to these locations and you're, psychically able to view them and be able to get more information and understand color and texture and all those things. So long story short, I wasn't really remote viewing. It's really, and remote viewing is really a misnomer as far as the name of what it is that you're doing. So even though the instruction of learning the protocol to remote view didn't end up having me understand the why I had received the gift of this particular way of seeing the information for my clients, I had gained this whole new set of skill in going through the protocol for remote viewing and having some amazing contacts. So when I say contacts, I'm actually talking about extraterrestrials. I'm talking about star tribes. I'm talking about star beings. I'm talking about beings that aren't us. They're not human. And it was and is, because it continues to happen on a fairly regular basis, the most astonishing and amazing and insightful experience, and continues to be experienced. And for me, it's really about setting boundaries and really, for me, it wasn't an experience where you get snatched from your house and, they do all these sort of experiments, because that's not the type of beings that I'm connecting with. And so I just want to make that really clear, and not to discount those experiences where people are abducted. Just saying that is not my experience. I'm basically psychically and telepathically traveling to connect to extraterrestrials, other species. And what I have found about myself is that all of those moments where I didn't think that I belonged, and all those moments where I thought that I was really tapping into past lives, which I was, the past life knowledge and past life experience that I had, I had been living in sort of this denial that my most immediate past life experience was I was not human, and 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 what I found kind of interesting and have found kind of interesting of just talking with people and getting to know them was that like it's way more acceptable to say that like, oh yeah, in my past life I was, a witch and I was burned at the stake, or I was drowned, or I was the Queen of Sheba, whatever. It's just sort of like that's way more acceptable sort of in mainstream conversation to say that, in previous incarnations you were that particular you were having that particular experience and were that person. And so I have hesitated to really share that recent discovery, and I say recent, about a year and a half ago. But it's really put things in perspective about how I have felt in my life about not belonging and having understandings of things that no one else I've ever met understood until I met John. And meeting him really opened the doorway, and I'm so grateful to him and his wife for really just being fantastic and open to having these conversations and helping me to understand, because what I understand now is that my desire and my relationship with information is really a huge part in the work that I do now. And when I say information, I really mean about a soul's information. So my previous life is as a the best way to say it is that I was a record keeper, and that the purpose was to be a celestial, multidimensional librarian. Someone who knew all the information, knew all where to find it, and really it's been useful in my work now as a psychic and a medium, because the information as the record keeper is really what people are now coming to me to receive guidance. And that is where I get to impart the information and channel the information and connect them to their soul remembering. And there's always been this sort of disconnect of my ego has always wanted to find out, well, why am I getting this information, and how come I'm channeling it, and why don't I remember one, my sessions with my clients, and two, why don't I remember my full experience in my previous life? Because if I'm meant to incorporate that knowledge into this life, I want to know more, right? So that's sort of like my ego, like I have to have this and that, and rather than surrendering to the experience of what I'm having now. So it is. My phone is listening. So it's been a journey over the last year and a half to really dive deep, to make consistent connections and have consistent contact with other beings. For a long time it was weekly, and now it's not as frequent, but it's the relationship that I had in a previous life that has now come back into this life, and the importance of that and incorporating it in my work. And it's fascinating and exciting, and it makes me a little nervous, and I feel a little weird about sharing it, but I know that I'm meant to. I know that I'm meant to open up all of open up all of the aspects of my existence, and my existence is not one dimensional, and your existence is not one dimensional, and what I have experienced and what I have seen and what I know to be true is meant to be shared. And it is my deepest desire to share with you so that I can support you in your journey in this life, and I can learn myself in the process, because obviously I still have lots of learning to do as well. But it's just this aspect of my life that I've kept hidden because society is just like, yeah, you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And it's just been, like I said, in the last year and a half where I've stepped into the acceptance of my difference in relation to other people's current experience and previous experience. And so, people are like, oh, okay, so you're Arcturian, or you're Palladian, or here's a new one that I heard because I had to write it down, Mintakan. And those don't necessarily, I don't remember those names directly related to my previous experience, but what I do know is that the experience of living and coming from a very crystalline planet, and it is in relation to the constellation Lyra, and a very near Vega, and being the record keeper there. And I wanted to share with you guys, since we're just getting all up in it, I want to share with you guys what I got during my meditation. It was just yesterday, where it was just asking a question of what do I need to know? What do I need to know about right now in my life? What does my heart want me to know? And so this is what I had written. I am the record keeper. I know volumes of the universe's stories. Each star a soul, each soul a path, each path walked. I am the record keeper of sorrows, of blessings, of love, of patience, of kindness, of anger, of betrayal, of loyalty, of generosity, of wealth, of poverty, and of fulfillment. My detachment from these records is mandatory. I am only the keeper of knowledge, sharing the truth of them when the universe, gods, souls, who are all one, call to them for understanding. And so there's that. It's that really, reading that after having that moment of meditation really felt true. It felt right. And that I have felt detached from emotion most of my life. Obviously, that is in direct relation to the traumas that I'd suffered in early childhood, and then, of course, young adult teen years with, addicted relatives and emotionally unstable, abusive relationships, all of that. It all plays into my experience. Sorry, I just realized I hit my mic, so there might be a little bang on there. That's just me. It all plays into my experience, but for me, it's just been important to heal those experiences in this life and understand why now at this point in my life I am now incorporating my previous life's experience, not only for myself but for my clients, and how I can best understand that and be of service in the best way possible. So Yeah, I just wanted to shine a light on a part of my work that has really challenged me and really stretched me beyond what I thought I was capable of or what I thought was possible in the world, in me, in other people. It's just really fascinating, and I just want to continue to share that aspect of who I am and um, bring that into the world. So, like I said, I'll post in the comments John's website. I don't know that he has classes coming up, but he's a fantastic teacher. If you're interested in learning the remote viewing protocol, absolutely. If you want to get in touch with me, I do have a free Facebook community that you're more than welcome to join, where I talk about metaphysical deep dives, and you're able to interact with me in that community there, and I'll post that link as well. So I hope you have a really great day, and I'm just looking forward to sharing more and being transparent and completely open with all the aspects of what has brought me to this point in my existence. So have a good day.